Good news. I'm living with 5 incredibly beautiful girls. Bad news. They are my siblings. Great news. They're not actually related by blood. The Shiunji family has 7 children in total, all stunningly attractive. Arata is the eldest son, and yet, he has never been in a relationship. He seeks advice from his younger brother, Shion. Meanwhile, their sisters join in, always teasing poor Arata. He's been relentlessly mocked by his younger sisters, and deliberately seduced by his older sisters because of a past mistake with the youngest, Kotono. However, their eldest sister, Banri, shows understanding, reasoning that being surrounded by such charming girls daily, some fortunate incidents are bound to happen. Seiha, the academic ace, disagrees, reminding them of the genetic risks of close relations. Thankfully, Minami still defends her brother. Just as Arata moves to thank her, he's reflexively punched by her. Suddenly, Uka asks if they're free on Saturday to go out after celebrating Kotono's birthday. The Shiunji daughters, each a breathtaking beauty with their own fan clubs, make many passersby envy their supposed blissful life. However, Arata, as the eldest brother, finds it overwhelming. Despite being the oldest, he can't retaliate when beaten up at home and feels his parents are biased towards the girls. Thus, Arata and Shion have long endured bullying by their 5 sisters. Yet they can't deny their sister's excellence. Eldest sister Banri, 18, attends a prestigious university, adored for her gentle and stable nature. Seiha, 17, a high school senior and science club president, attracts many with her cold demeanor. Uka, 16, excels in academics and sports, being a key player in the swimming and track teams and likely the next student council president. Minami, 15, a tennis prodigy until last year, and Kotono, 14, the youngest with a massive fan base due to her cute, introverted personality. Even so, Arata and Shion must maintain appropriate thoughts about their sisters, despite a secretive past incident between Arata and Kotono. Arata, though the eldest, is quite immature. Despite his good prospects, he only harbors secret crushes and hesitates even to befriend them. As he contemplates this, Uka enters, finds him studying neatly, and joins him. Arata inadvertently glances at her and comments on her scant attire, leaving Uka speechless. They've bathed together since childhood, she reminds him. Curious, Uka asks about Arata's crush. Learning they're on the same committee, she offers to connect them but is stopped by Arata, who asks her not to meddle. Offended by his ungratefulness, Uka storms out, cursing that Arata will never find a good wife. In her room, Kotono was looking at a family photo, focusing solely on Arata. Surprisingly, she harbored inappropriate feelings for her own brother. Meanwhile, Arata's first love ended before it could even begin. After school, he saw the girl he liked with another boy. She already had a boyfriend. Arata felt bitter and wondered if his life would have been different if he weren't a Shiunji. But there was no time to dwell on it, as today was Kotono's 15th birthday party. All 7 siblings had dressed up, but soon after sitting down, Uka and Minami began arguing over a lost earphone. Uka criticized Minami for focusing too much on sports instead of studying. The argument escalated, leading Uka to harshly say she didn't want Minami as a sister. Unable to bear it, Arata intervened, urging them to speak kindly as siblings. Just then, their father arrived, and they toasted to Kotono's birthday. However, he announced that they were not real siblings, but his adopted children, except for Shion and Minami, who were actual twins. The rest were not blood-related. He urged them to accept this reality quickly. Then dinner was served, but the mood was dampened by the revelation. Everyone struggled to accept it. After the party, the siblings discussed the matter. Only Minami seemed unaffected, while the others were bitter. Uka knew it wasn't their father's fault, but wished for better timing. Seiha thought it was the best time. Uka understood, but felt lonely. She asked the eldest, Banri, for her thoughts. Banri, who was 4 when Kotono joined the Shiunji family, barely remembered her childhood. She thought of something, but remained silent. Nevertheless, they had lived together for 15 years. and Banri couldn't stop seeing them as her siblings, regardless of blood ties. Everyone agreed, except Kotono, who stayed quiet. After the meeting, they returned to their rooms. Arata was also conflicted, but agreed with Banri. What else could be done? He went to bathe, found underwear in the laundry basket, and felt no fantasies. This was no harem comedy. They had grown up together. Even knowing they weren't related by blood wouldn't change anything. As he undressed and entered the bathroom, he found Kotono bathing. Quickly wrapping a towel around himself, he attempted to leave, but Kotono stopped him, asking for help with scrubbing her back as he had done before. Arata obliged, focusing solely on helping without any improper thoughts. After finishing, he reminded her to keep warm and left. In the living room, Uka and Shion were talking. Shion hadn't spoken much earlier. Uka wanted to know what he thought. Shion felt it was surreal, but Uka was more interested in Arata's thoughts. Despite not being blood-related, they had been raised as twins for 16 years. Shion reassured her that Arata likely felt the same. His role as the heir wouldn't change, and he was still the reliable older brother. At least he and Minami were real twins. The only change was their genetic relationship. They couldn't truly fall in love as siblings. Unknown to them, at that moment in the bathroom, a naked Kotono embraced Arata. On the day they found out that none of the siblings were blood-related, Arata was confessed to by his younger sister. Since they weren't biologically related, there were no legal restrictions against marriage. Nevertheless, Uka found Shion's confession to be disgusting. Recalling Arata's recent unusual behavior, she asked Shion if she knew what was going on between him and Kotono. When they arrived that day, Kotono was already pinned under Arata. Besides the two involved, only Shion knew the full story. With the situation as it was, Shion had to confess. Initially, it was Kotono who confessed her feelings to Arata. At the time, the siblings didn't yet know they weren't blood-related. As the eldest, Arata naturally rejected Kotono, but she wouldn't listen and hugged him, leading to their awkward position. Arata kept it a secret to avoid gossip about Kotono. However, they both felt that Kotono had confused respect and affection, though it was clear she was serious. Hearing the news today, she immediately tried to seduce Arata and asked him if she was a bad girl. Arata couldn't bring himself to be harsh with his sister, telling her that it's normal during adolescence to mistakenly think one has romantic feelings for someone close, regardless of their relationship. He reassured her that he would always be there as her big brother and protect her until she becomes someone else's bride. This was essentially a gentle rejection. Kotono silently returned to the bathhouse, and after Arata left, she muttered to herself, "How long does adolescence last anyway?" Arata sneaked back to his room only to find Seiha inside, who immediately questioned where he had been. Arata couldn't admit he was bathing with Kotono and lied about just wandering around, but Seiha easily saw through the lie, though he didn't press further. Instead, he abruptly brought up the time when they were 10 and used rock, paper, scissors to decide rooms. Uka won the biggest room, and Arata, the eldest, came last. Despite listening, Arata still didn't understand what Seiha really wanted. Suddenly, Seiha stood in front of him, pushed him onto the bed, and climbed on top, pressing down on him to listen closely to his heartbeat. Caught off guard, Arata couldn't even remember to reject him, wondering if Seiha might harbor feelings like Kotono. But then Seiha remarked that there seemed to be no serious anomaly, which Arata found relieving. It turned out Seiha had seen him bathing with Kotono and heard their conversation. Arata hurriedly pushed Seiha off, realizing Seiha had sensed Kotono's feelings for him all along. They likely mistook sibling closeness for romantic interest, causing Kotono to lose her resolve today. Fortunately, Arata kept his composure and firmly rejected his sister, though he knew similar incidents might still occur. Seiha had deliberately tried to seduce Arata to confirm that even under pressure from his sisters, he would not harbor romantic feelings towards them. Arata accepted this explanation, but Seiha reminded him that even though the country prohibits incest, that restriction no longer applied to them as siblings. He couldn't guarantee how long his words would deter Kotono. Seiha then provocatively suggested that since they were not blood-related, even physical relationships were permissible, which confused Arata, and he quickly left. Arata felt emotionally drained. Having lived with his siblings for 16 years, he struggled to accept that they were not biologically related. The next morning, he was still pondering this when he saw his eldest sister and younger sister dressed in uniforms for Banri's internship, asking if he liked it. Arata emphasized they were siblings and should avoid such inappropriate topics. He then left with Shion, escorted by their eldest sister. The sibling trio stood out, unaffected in their school life. Despite a day passing, the revelation still felt unreal to Arata. After school, he met Minami, the most lively among them and very popular among the girls. Just out of the school building, she was surrounded by girls wanting pictures with her. Minami, who had gained a lot of female fans recently, fulfilled their requests. Arata was astonished that even Minami was stealing all the female attention. With no practice needed today, Arata asked if she wanted to hang out, only for Minami to sheepishly confess she needed to attend tutoring for failing her exams. Acknowledging everyone has weaknesses, Minami, though athletically gifted, lagged academically in their family. Arata took on his role as an elder brother and decided to help Minami study at a karaoke venue. While studying, he couldn't help but notice Minami's androgynous yet attractive appearance. However, Minami soon got distracted and started singing again, leading Arata to follow along, realizing he was happiest with her. After singing, they decided to head home without further studying. There, Arata encountered the girl he had a crush on, along with her boyfriend, and immediately hid, unwilling to face this harsh reality. Minami quietly observed this. On their way home, Arata discussed yesterday's revelation with Minami, who seemed the most normal about it since she was mostly concerned about their biological parents and worried about the sensitive Kotono. To Minami, the bond they shared over 15 years was what really mattered. She then cheered up Arata, saying not to be down about his crush having a boyfriend, revealing she knew from Uka. Minami comforted him by listing his good qualities, hoping he would regain his spirits. She also returned a pair of headphones she had found to Uka, and the sisters reconciled, sharing a cake together.